Of course, English wasn't born fully formed into the world. Like most things in life and languages in particular, it developed over time. The roots of English, often many of the words and familiar phrases and much of the vocabulary, can trace their roots back to more ancient languages. And in the case of today's study, we're going to look at some of the more common Greek and Latin root words. These are the building blocks of much of the vocabulary, particularly technical and medical related vocabulary, but everyday vocabulary too. Well, why learn root words? What's the value in it for you? Well, there are many reasons, but some of the most important include improving your vocabulary. If you learn a root word, you can quickly add a bunch of terms to your active vocabulary. It can help with better comprehension. Particularly in reading comprehension, it can give you a fighting chance of working out the meaning of unfamiliar words and phrases if you have a good grasp of more common roots. And it can also enhance your spelling as you become familiar with many of the more common um, spelling patterns, especially if they're coming from Greek or Latin. They may not follow phonetically what you might expect. So let's take a look at a common word, the word incredible. And here we can see that this word incredible, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is made up of three parts: the prefix, root, and suffix. So three parts that have their own meanings. And if we know them, if we're familiar with these prefixes and suffixes and the root, we can work out the meaning of the word. The prefix in, of course, means not, cred, related to credible, credit, faith, trust, belief in this case, and able, meaning able to, gives us the meaning not able to be believed. It is incredible, which of course is the original meaning, though it has moved on to have other connotations too. So, likewise, when we're building words in English, often to describe new developments in technology, we'll use some of the Greek or Latin roots to combine them. We can often combine two or more roots to make a new word. Photograph, which may not seem that new now, but is relatively new. We can see we've combined the word photo, meaning light, with graph, meaning right, to create the word photograph, a picture created using light. So let's take this first root, photo, referring to light, and let's look at some interesting words that can be formed from that root. And word number one we're going to look at is photogenic, the quality of looking attractive in photographs or on film. Photogenic. Now, photogenic is commonly used to refer to people. He or she is very photogenic, meaning they look attractive in photographs or film. But we can also use it to describe scenery too. And as we can see here from this spectacular natural scenery, the mountain landscape was so breathtakingly photogenic that even a quick snap on my phone looked like a professional postcard. Photosynthesis is another word we can see combining photo with synthesis. And photosynthesis, of course, is the process by which green plants and certain other organisms transform light energy into chemical energy. You may well be familiar with this word if you're engaged in studying science. Let's look at it in context in a sentence. Without photosynthesis, the vibrant fields of sunflowers would just lose their golden glow. They'd cease to exist, leaving the planet starved of both beauty and oxygen. Photobomb, a little bit more modern now, recently been added to the lexicon. And it's the act, of course, of purposely putting oneself into the view of a photograph, often in order to play a practical joke on the photographer or the subject. I know none of you listening are photobombers, but you may be familiar with the phenomenon. Speaking of photobombers, just as we posed for the perfect family photo, our dog decided to photobomb us by leaping into the frame with a goofy grin and a wagging tail. He's that cute, you could probably forgive him his transgression. Let's look at the next word, photojournalism. Journalism that uses images to tell a news story, usually only refers to still images, but can also refer to video. Let's see an example sentence. His passion for storytelling and capturing raw emotional moments led him to a career in photojournalism. Those are just some examples of words built upon the root photo. There are, of course, others. Perhaps you have some you would like to add to the list. Why not try to crowbar one of these words into your next piece of writing to really drive home your awareness of this important root? As I say, it's very good for reading comprehension. If you come across a word perhaps that you're not familiar with, photovoltaic, for example, is a good, uh, less frequently used word to focus on here. If you're familiar with photo, meaning light, now you've got a good chance of figuring out the meaning. You might recognize the word volt in there as well, related to electricity or electrical current. And you might be able to figure out it's along the lines of the definition relating to the production of electric current by light, for example, solar panels. So that's photo for you. Hopefully, that will shed some light on it. If you find that interesting and would like to perhaps take a look at some more materials we have, why not head on over to nomadhomeschool.com. My name's Shane McDonaghy, and on that site, you'll find a few interesting articles about how to develop your reading and writing skills. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for your attention.